Albuquerque International Sunport is a public airport 3 miles southeast of downtown Albuquerque, in Bernalillo County, New Mexico, United States. It is the largest commercial airport in the state, handling 4,871,901 passengers in 2014. The airport serves Albuquerque and Santa Fe. History: Albuquerque was first served by two private airports. Oxnard Field opened in 1928, and West Mesa Airport, also known as the TWA Airport, opened in 1930. The first airlines to serve the airports were Transcontinental Air Transport, Western Air Express, and Mid-Continent Air Express, all inaugurating service in 1929. At first the airlines operated from Oxnard Field but moved to the West Mesa Airport for most of the 1930s decade. TAT and WAE merged in 1930 to form Transcontinental and Western Air. Mid-Continent Air Express service was replaced by Varney Speed Lines in 1934. 3 years later Varney changed its names to Continental Airlines. In 1935 it was suggested that the city build a new public airport using Works Progress Administration money. Having secured $520,500 in funding, Governor Clyde Tingley broke ground for the project on February 28, 1937. Albuquerque Municipal Airport opened in 1939 with 2 paved runways, a Pueblo-style terminal building designed by Ernest Blumenthal, and a massive hangar designed to accommodate the new Boeing 307 operated by TWA. TWA became Transworld Airlines in 1946. Monacan Arizona Airways came to Albuquerque in the late 1940s, then merged to become Frontier Airlines. In 1950, the airport was renamed Albuquerque Sunport on April 17, 1963. The April 1957 official airline guide shows 31 weekday departures, 13 on Continental Airlines, 12 on TWA and 6 on Frontier Airlines. Trans-Texas Airways came to Albuquerque in 1963, rounding out the first 4 carriers to serve the airport prior to the Airline Deregulation Act of 1978. The present terminal was designed by William E. Burke, Jr. It is built just east of the original terminal, and opened on November 12, 1965. At first the terminal had 8 gates, 4 at the main building and another 4 at a small satellite building to the south connected by an underground tunnel. None of the gates had jet bridges. The terminal has since been expanded several times. First in 1971 when a west wing was added with a large gate able to handle new wide-body aircraft. TWA used this gate to introduce the Lockheed L1011 to Albuquerque in 1974 with flights to Chicago. After airline deregulation was passed in 1978, a flood of new airlines came to ABQ. The West Wing was expanded in 1980 with 3 more gates, all of which had jet bridges and were used extensively by TWA and many new carriers. Southwest Airlines started service on April 3, 1980 using the old gates 1 and 2 and installed 3 ground-level jet bridges at these 2 gates. From 1987 through 1989 the terminal was expanded and renovated. Advertising a design by Philip Jacobson and BPLW Associates. The satellite gate building was replaced with 2 concourses A and B, giving the Sunport 19 new gates, all with jet bridges. Concourse A was further expanded in 1996 with 4 additional gates. The new above-ground connector link to the concourses was greatly expanded in the early 2000s to accommodate the need for additional security screening by the TSA after the September 11 attacks in 2001. The airport gained international status and was renamed the Albuquerque International Airport on September 27, 1971. The name was changed to Albuquerque International Sunport in 1994. The old terminal of 1939 has been restored and houses offices of the Transportation Security Administration. It was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1988. Historical airline service. Weekday departures at the Sunport peaked at 163 in December 1995 and again in August 2001, but has dropped to less than half that figure in 2015. The Sunport is served by Alaska, Allegiant, American, Delta, JetBlue, Southwest, United, and Boutique Airlines. In the past, Albuquerque has been served by the following commercial airlines: States.It, Continental, Frontier, Texas International, Eastern, Western, Northwest, America West, Braniff, Pan Am, Vine Air, Alaska, PSA, Reno Air, Western Pacific, Aeromexico, U.S. Airways, and a second Frontier Airlines. TWA was the grandfather carrier since passenger flights commenced in 1929, as Albuquerque was one of many stops on the carrier's mainline route between Los Angeles and New York, tucked in between Winslow, Arizona and Amarillo, Texas. TWA consistently expanded with larger aircraft and peaked in 1979, operating 21 daily departures to 13 major cities, including non-stops to Los Angeles and New York. Its service continued until December 2, 2001, when the carrier merged with American Airlines. Continental Airlines was the second major player serving Albuquerque since 1934 as a stop on its mainline north-south route between Denver and El Paso. In 1940, Continental added new service to several cities in southeastern New Mexico, and expanded with jets to peak at 24 daily departures to 8 cities in the summer of 1977. Continental merged with United Airlines in 2012. Frontier Airlines began service to Albuquerque in 1946 as Monarch Airlines, and provided flights to smaller cities throughout the Four Corners states. Service was expanded in the 1960s with Boeing 727 and 737 jets to Denver and Tucson. Direct flights to Mexico were added in the early 1980s, but the carrier closed down in 1986. In 1963, Trans-Texas Airways took over service to the smaller cities in New Mexico that Continental had served. It expanded with non-stop Douglas DC-9 jets to Dallas and Los Angeles. TTA, which later became Texas International, also flew DC-9s from ABQ to Santa Fe and Roswell, New Mexico, before it merged with Continental in 1982. Southwest Airlines began service to the Sunport in 1980 and expanded quickly, creating a hub at ABQ. The carrier took over the #1 spot by the early 1980s and peaked with 66 daily departures in October 2001. Although Southwest has cut back significantly since then, so far it has served 27 cities non-stop from ABQ. American, Delta, and United Airlines have also had major roles at the airport since the early 1980s. At least 34 commuter and regional airlines have served ABQ. The largest of these by far was Mesa Airlines, which served the Sunport from 1981 through 2007. Mesa peaked with 46 daily departures in 1990 and served 18 cities non-stop from ABQ to points throughout New Mexico and Colorado. Mesa still serves ABQ, but now as a regional airline, providing feeder for flights for American Eagle and United Express using small jets. Other regional airlines serving the airport on behalf of the majors are Skyist, Republic, ExpressJet, Shuttle America, GoJet, Compass, and Envoy. Extra Airways and Sun Country Airlines also serve ABQ with regular public charter flights to Laughlin and Wendover, Nevada. Military facilities and operations. The Sunport began a new role in 1940 when it was designated Albuquerque Army Air Base, the precursor to today's Kirtland Air Force Base. The airport continues to share its runways with Kirtland AFB, which also handles rescue and firefighting operations. An Air Force Material Command installation, the host unit is the 377th Air Base Wing. Flying units at Kirtland AFB consist of the 58th Special Operations Wing of the Air Education and Training Command and the 150th Fighter Wing, an Air Combat Command gained unit of the New Mexico Air National Guard. Future developments. The airport master plan drafted in 2002 lays out intermediate and long-term projects at the Sunport, including the removal of runway 17/35 and the construction of a second terminal when traffic demands it. The runway closure recommendation was based on safety, noise abatement, and the cost of upkeep. Because 17/35 intersected all three of the other runways, it ran the highest risk of runway incursions. The runway was closed in summer 2012, and the tarmac is used for taxiing aircraft and for firefighting training aircraft located on the north end. The configuration of the other three runways, in conjunction with typical wind patterns, enabled them to handle departures and landings more efficiently. In the longer term, the plan calls for a new terminal to be built to the northeast of the existing terminal. A people mover system will connect the terminal with parking facilities and the existing terminal. Facilities and aircraft. Albuquerque International Sunport Airport covers 2,039 acres and has 3 runways. In 2014, the airport had 130,002 aircraft operations, an average of 356 per day, 40% scheduled commercial, 21% air taxi, 24% general aviation, and 15% military. In 2006, there were 322 aircraft based at this airport, 33% multi-engine, 30% single-engine, 18% military, 13% jet and 7% helicopter. ABQ's terminal, which was expanded in the late 1980s, and again to its present size in 1996, encompasses 574,000 square feet of space. The airport has a Pueblo Revival-style passenger terminal which houses 2 concourses and an area for commuter airline gates. The largest passenger aircraft scheduled into Albuquerque is the Boeing 737-900, operated by Alaska Airlines and Delta Airlines on flights from Seattle and Atlanta. The largest commercial aircraft the Sunport usually sees is a FedEx McDonnell Douglas DC-10 to Memphis. In 2013, the aerial firefighting company, 10 Tanker Air Carrier, moved its headquarters to Albuquerque and currently have 3 DC-10 large air tankers based out of Albuquerque International Sunport. The largest aircraft of any type to regularly visit the Sunport is the C-5 Galaxy. In 1974 and again from 1982 through 1992, the airport had scheduled Transworld Airlines Lockheed L1011S terminal. Albuquerque International Sunport has 1 terminal with 25 gates in 4 concourses, including a concourse for commuter airline gates. Concourse A has 13 gates, A1, A12, A14. Concourse B has 9 gates, B1, B3, B10. Concourse E has 2 gates, E1 and AMP, E2. Concourse C, originally known as the West Wing, consisted of 4 gates. Gate 11 was closed when the terminal was expanded in 1989, and the remaining 3 gates were renumbered to C1, C2, and AMP C3. TWA continued to use these gates for a few more years until gates C2 and C3 showed signs of structural failure and later had to be demolished. TWA moved to Concourse B, and the lobby area of gate C1 has mostly been converted to office space. The lower level of gate C1 houses U.S. Customs and is still used for occasional international arriving flights. The Sunport last saw regular international service in 2009 by Aeromexico Connect with flights to Chihuahua, Mexico. Concourse D was a ground-level commuter aircraft concourse that was used by Great Plains Airlines. It was closed in 2004 after Great Plains Airlines liquidated due to insolvency. Airlines and destinations. Passenger cargo statistics. Top domestic destinations. Airline market share. Annual traffic. Aircraft operations. The data below lists annual total aircraft operations from 2004 to 2014 from the FAA's Air Traffic Activity System. The percent changes indicate an average of -3.50% in aircraft operations per year over the last 10 years. The airport's freight center moved 60,000 short tons of cargo in 2013, a 7% decline from 64,000 short tons during the 2012 calendar year. General aviation support. Support for private, corporate, and general aviation aircraft pilots and passengers are handled by 2 fixed-base operators at Albuquerque International Sunport, Atlantic Aviation and Qatar Aviation, and Albuquerque Aero Services, which handles avionics and electrical, all 3 located on the southeast section of the airport off Clark Car Loop. Ground transportation. Bus ABQ Ride offers bus service at the west side of the baggage claim area. Commuter train. ABQ Ride Route 222 provides connecting service to the New Mexico Rail Runner Express Bernalillo County International Sunport Station, while ABQ Ride Route 250 provides non-stop service to the Alvarado Transportation Center in downtown Albuquerque. The Rail Runner provides service north and south of the airport, including downtown Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Scheduled shuttle bus service. Regularly scheduled bus and shuttle service is provided by various carriers to locations from ABQ to the city and to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Taxis can be hailed through the ground transportation employees outside the baggage claim areas. Incidents and accidents. On February 19, 1955, TWA Flight 260, a Martin 404 bound for Santa Fe, crashed into the Sandia Mountains shortly after takeoff. All 16 people on board the flight were killed. On September 11, 1958, a U.S. Air Force F-102 Delta Dagger slid off the end of runway 35 in heavy rain and struck a car on Gibson Boulevard before coming to rest in an empty lot on the north side of the street. Both occupants of the car were killed. On November 3, 1973, National Airlines Flight 27, a McDonnell Douglas DC-10, suffered a catastrophic engine failure while en route from Houston to Las Vegas. Shrapnel from the engine struck the fuselage and caused an explosive decompression of the aircraft. 1 passenger was blown out of the cabin. The plane was able to make an emergency landing at ABQ On September 14, 1977, a USAF Boeing EC-135 crashed into the Manzano Mountains just after takeoff, killing all 20 people on board. On July 6, 1997, Delta Airlines Flight 1470, a Boeing 727 suffered a right landing gear failure after landing on runway 21. While there were no fatalities, 3 people were injured and the aircraft suffered serious damage. Amenities: the Sunport provides free Wi-Fi internet access. In February 2005, the Sunport was voted one of the top 5 U.S. airports for wireless access, according to a Microsoft Small Business Center poll. The Sunport was the only one among the top 5 that provided free internet. As of January 2016, the service is still provided free. There is a free cell phone parking area, where meeters and greeters can park and wait for a call from their arriving passenger before driving to the front of the terminal for pickup. There are 2 free aircraft observation areas, including one near the aforementioned cell phone lot that is adjacent to now closed runway 17/35. A larger observation area is at the southwest corner of the airfield property, near the approach end of runway 3 and accessible from Spirit Drive, Shea. These areas were created to replace a large parking area adjacent to the approach ends of runways 8 and 12 that closed in 2007. An Eclipse Aerospace aircraft painting facility now occupies this location.